The socialist dictatorships are religions, and state slavery is a form of worship. Since the birth of totalitarianism in the 20th century, much has been written about this form of rule, and millions...
Okay, pause. This video is about government being the new god of the New World Order. Or a period where there are time frames throughout history where the Edomite race has basically tried to make government God and make people bow to their laws and their tactics and their schemes and their lies, and built cities, and basically a matriarchic type of society where you're slaves to them. They're the rulers on top, and you're the cows, the useless eaters, the sheeple. And you will bow down to them and their laws and tyranny until the day you die. Okay, let's go.
Have read George Orwell's depiction of it in the classic novel 1984. But what is often overlooked is that totalitarianism is more than just a political system. It is a fanatical religion. And this religion is spreading across the globe with a ferocity not seen since the mid-20th century. In this video, we are going to investigate the religious nature of totalitarianism in the recognition that we must know our enemy if we are to defeat it. Shortly after fleeing Nazi Germany, the political scientist Waldemar Gurian wrote the following: "The totalitarian movements that have arisen after the First World War are basically religious movements. Their aim is not only to change political and social institutions, but also to remodel the nature of man and society." Totalitarianism shares many characteristics with organized religions. For example, Christianity and Islam are built on the belief of a future golden age that will be ushered in with the second coming of Christ. Totalitarian movements share a similar idea, but instead of a god or prophet that transforms the world, totalitarian movements are built on the belief that man can recreate the world, and a new golden age can be constructed under the direction of the all-powerful and all-controlling state.
Now, not necessarily the all-powerful and controlling state, but yes, partially that. But with that all-powerful state controlling everything, they also want to implement a technocracy. So not only is this a totalitarianism movement and agenda, it's also a technocracy. See, they use the technocracy in order to control the masses. Totalitarianism is the overhaul, the head of it, and they use the technocracy to be the fingers and the toes and the hammer of it. So they're trying to rule over you with three forms of control: totalitarianism, technocracy, and what's the other one? The other one will be what? Socialism. Let's go. The isms.
Consequence of the decline of Christianity, writes Carl Jung, the religious projections have largely fallen away from the divine figures and have necessarily settled in the human sphere. The modern, enlightened intellect cannot imagine anything greater than those tin gods with totalitarian pretensions who call themselves state. This belief that it is possible for a centralized, all-powerful state to radically change society for the better is why Hannah Arendt wrote that totalitarianism is not a government in any traditional sense, but a movement. In the totalitarian movements of the past, this golden age was envisioned to be one of racial purity, or a communist utopia of equality, efficiency, and prosperity for all. Today, this totalitarian golden age is one in which mankind exists in harmony with Mother Earth, or in its more extreme form, an age where man merges with machine and transcends biological limitations of disease and death.
Transhumanism.
Needless to say, totalitarian utopias never come to fruition, for as Karl Popper warned, the attempt to make heaven on earth invariably produces hell.
Amen.
These utopian visions do, however...
You heard that. You heard that. That's my favorite statement. Trying to make heaven on earth inevitably produces hell, because mankind cannot create the kingdom of heaven. Only the Most High could do it. Only Yahweh Shem Yahushua could bring that. And I don't know what Esau think he doing. Look at that Edomite right there. Look at him. So that's their whole goal, is to be God on earth forever.
however, succeed in stimulating the religious enthusiasm of the masses, and totalitarians use these visions to convince the population that the utopian end justifies any and all means, be it mass surveillance, censorship, widespread oppression, mass imprisonment, or even the extermination of groups of people, or as Barry Goldwater explains, those who seek absolute power, even though they seek it to do what they regard as good, are simply demanding the right to enforce their own version of heaven on earth. And let me remind you, they are the very ones who always create the most hellish tyrannies. Absolute power does corrupt, and those who seek it must be suspect and must be opposed.
Amen.
In the totalitarian religion, there are the chosen people and there are the sinners. The chosen ones naively believe in the possibility of a paradisal future and the ability of the state to be the vehicle to effectuate this transformation.
So the chosen ones in their eyes are the elite. And then everybody else is sinners and trash. They think they God's gift to the planet. When really they the parasite of the planet, but they are under strong delusion that they running shit. It's beautiful.
They are the pious who follow the state's commands with unquestioning obedience. The sinners are the non-believers. They are the heretics who stand in the way of the so-called greater good and prevent the forward march of history.
Okay, so the sinners would be somebody like me who want to fight and rage against the machine, who don't want to be a slave to the machine no more. People that think like me or think like you out there, who want this corrupt way of living and government and society to come to end.
To use an analogy offered by the Polish philosopher Zygmunt Bauman, the totalitarians see the earth as a garden to which they are anointed to cultivate, and the sinners as the weeds that must be exterminated to bring about the full flowering of the totalitarian.
So look at the picture. Is that the what's that wheel turning the people working till they die as slaves? And why these rich bastards over here get rich off the blood of everybody else? And these people are their children and are dying. They in disarray. They don't know what to do with themselves. They don't have a faith. They don't have nothing going on, but they got to go to work. And that grind mill, that millstone right there, grinding it out. This is how they want the world. They want you over there in poverty. You see what that is? Homelessness, poverty, where that house is, and the disarray, and the sky is dark, and these are the FEMA soldiers right here, led to slaughter. Y'all being led to slaughter by the sword. There go Esau with the sword, leading you to slaughter, and they getting rich, putting crowns on their head. Look, he fat and fed right here. Look at him. This is Esau. That's a priest right there, the Catholic Church. These are the elites. That right there represents the royal family. This right here probably represents the Middle East rich people. And everybody else. Let's go.
Totalitarian utopia. All totalitarian visions of society as garden define parts of the social habitat as human weeds. Like all other weeds, they must be segregated, contained, prevented from spreading, removed, and kept outside the society boundaries. If all these means prove insufficient, they must be killed.
Who are supposed to be the weeds? Who got segregated? Who are the weeds? Who is to be segregated and who is to be prevented from spreading and removed and kept and killed? Who is that? Who is this? Who is this talking about? Who are they obsessed with removing, segregating, killing, and keeping and calling weeds in this here garden?
But removing the weeds is only one part of the totalitarian religious movement. The remaining citizens must be turned into totalitarian true believers.
Wow.
Who inwardly assent to a life of strict conformity and obedience to authority. For in totalitarianism, the mere outward display of compliance is not enough. Like all fanatical religions, Totalitarian movements seek to control the innermost thoughts of its followers.
Innermost thoughts.
Referring to Mussolini's fascist dictatorship in Italy, Giovanni Amendola explained, "Fascism did not so much aim to govern Italy as to monopolize the control of Italian consciences. The possession of power is not enough for fascism. It needs to possess the private conscience of all its citizens. It demands the conversion of Italians. Fascism."
Okay, so